They say great art is difficult to understand, but easy to enjoy.
Hey, Beavis. It's hard, but it's not like hard.
Yeah.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever, whenever, however you all are. Welcome to Clobby's Comic Shop. How you all doing tonight? Like that clip I added with Beavis and Butthead? I knew that would get all the laughs and the jokes going. I figured, you know what? It's a good clip. I'll probably get hit for it from MTV or Paramount, but whatever. I'll just remove it happily. So if you're catching the replay in advance, I had to remove the Beavis and Butthead clip because they don't like when I play long clips. So, oh, freaking well to that. But guys. Yeah, a Superman movie came out. Some might say it was a big deal. You know, it was kind of a huge deal. And let's see here. We got humans here, so let's acknowledge those humans. We already got 10 of you in our chat. Which, by the way, tonight this is our last Friday night showing on this. Last Friday night showing. Starting next week, it's gonna be on Saturday at 6 p.m. Central. So for those who want to watch their flash cast, you know, or snow dubs show, you'll be in good hands. And it's a rare open field. And when we did our show last Saturday, it was our biggest audience we had in well over a year. We did a poll, and the poll ran with the majority of votes. Either Saturday's preferable or both is fine. I apologize to those who are Friday, but I gotta go once again where the audience is at. But I'm hoping some of you will be like, you know what? That sucks. He's moving over, but I'll catch the replay. So I do apologize for that, but I've always said I'm a man of the people. I'm a man of where the market goes, and that's where I'm shifting. That's where I'm transitioning. So tonight is the last hurrah for Friday nights, which I must say I will miss this in a way. So, anyways, let's acknowledge our faces in the chat. What's going on, Josh Hammond? Hello, sir. Vince Mac. How's it going, buddy? Stephen M. Kal-El. D. Bud Martin. King Conan by Crom. How's it going, dude? K. Ravenwolf. Hello. Welcome to the show. Eric K. What's up, Eric K? Hey, it's my guy, Tom. Tom and I have been talking a lot the last few days. I mean, we always do talk, but we're talking extra more now. Extra more. All because of that certain Superman movie. It's quite something. Quite a discussion. Well, if you're here, we'll just put it this way. Fenrir needs to pay up. And he is on Twitter X. And the man needs to pay up. I'm just going to get that right out of the way. If you're here, you're not here on accident. You know what you're getting into. Fenrir owes me $20. Fenrir owes me $20. You want to make posts about that on Twitter X? Go ahead. But that man owes me $20. Pay up, homie. Pay up. I love and respect you. Your time is valuable on here. But you set the precedent. Now you got to come on here and pay up. Y'all were here last week. It was great. It's fantastic. But it's time. Our man needs to do the deed and show up and pay up. I actually had $20 lined up. I'm like, hey, you know, this could be a thing where it could backfire against me. It could. It didn't. I'm a $20 richer man. It may only be $20, but a deal's a deal. Deal's a deal. Just saying. And of course, we got you dudes on Rumble. How you guys doing over on Rumble? 3 of you there on Rumble. Vince Womack is chatting up the storm there. Some of our dudes I'm waiting on, and then one of our dudes is here. Heard mixed reviews about Superman. Yeah, it is definitely a very polarizing movie, which is crazy because it's not really actually a polarizing movie, but you know. What can I say? This is just how our planet functions. What's up, Jonathan Conroy? Nice to see you here. All right, and welcome, Mr. Jed. How's it
Well,
going?
thank you, brother. Appreciate it. How you doing today?
Doing pretty good, man. I've had a very crazy busy day. I did catch Superman again on Dolby, which was cool to catch on Dolby. I'm like, oh, now I get why there's all that hype with Dolby. I get it.
Yes, it's awesome in Dolby. So we I think that's what me and Culture went to go see it on because it was the sound was really good in that auditorium. So but did you see anything else different from the first time from since the first time you saw it?
Yes,
Okay,
I did. I did
okay.
see some things a little differently. There was not as much humor as I thought that there was. I'm with Tom there. Now, do I agree still on where I was initially on the humor while we had it? That some
Mm-hmm.
stuff hit it and then
Yeah,
some definitely didn't.
yeah,
Yeah, I would, but it's definitely not there as much as I initially thought there was.
yeah,
There's definitely some validation of debate on what's going on with the whole Jor-El angle. I get why. I feel like that's probably the most valid criticism I've heard, and I
I
get
I, I
why
agree with
people
that on.
would. That's probably
Mhm.
what. That's probably one of the few things. But you know what? I can see your point on that. Now, assuming, let's just assume assume that they are 100% right on
Mhm.
their on what happened with that character. Let's
Yeah.
just assume that they are. Um, Ba 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 ba. Assuming that they're right, I feel like it's something that could be corrected. Unlike, let's just say, Superman and Man of Murder, where that
Yeah.
was such a very harsh thing that there's no, unless you did time travel, there's no undoing that.
Yeah.
Whereas this had alterations of technology. And when you had the word alteration in any of these things can always be realigned, readjusted, realtered, whatever the word it is. There could be a course correction, assuming that that is the actual case.
Yeah.
Stephen M's got comment. I'm going to read it. I'm glad you announced the new showtime starting next week tonight. I thought there was no show last night. To be honest, I just never got the notification from YouTube. Yeah, dude, I'm sorry, man. YouTube has just been getting absolutely worse about it. But as I say, the show must go on. I hate that YouTube does it. It's annoying, but yeah, pick and choose your battles. And I choose to play the YouTube battle. And well, here I am still battling and still doing a show because it don't matter if it's a bigger audience or a smaller audience. You got to do the show. You got to suck it up and just make it happen. And that's what
Yeah.
I'm doing. I'm making it happen. So,
Nick,
oh,
that happens with me too. Whenever I do been putting shows out, they don't send no notification for me either now. So
mhm.
it's been doing that for a while.
Oh
So
yeah, it's not
yeah,
a new thing. What's up,
it's
Void King? How you doing? Said got myself a couple of Tool CD for your buckets. Nice. I remember
nice,
I
dude.
caught them on the 10,000 Days tour in '07. That was, I can't believe that was already 18 years ago. That is wild, homie. That is wild. Okay, what was I gonna get into with Stephen M.
Superman.
Kell? Oh,
Or
about the show times. I've always I try to encourage people, and I don't know how many people do it. Chat, if you do it, let me know. If not, I try to treat YouTube in my eyes. I try to treat it like a TV time. I have my let's just say I have my top 10 channels. I write down what time they start because I just to me it's like I don't want to be reliant on the notification. Yes, it's nice that it's there. It's nice that it's you should be getting it, but I've come to not be as reliant on it. So I made my 10 channels where I wrote down the time for when they start. And obviously, sometimes they start a little later, sometimes 10, 20 minutes late. But at least when you write it down the way we used to with shows and having memory, no notification needed because it's right there in your head.
yep.
Right there in your head. Jonathan said, I'm getting more random live streams than what I sub for or want to watch. Yeah, I hate it. I trust me. It's not lost on me how irritating it is. All I'm trying to do here is at least trying to give a solution because there are ways around it.
Yeah, there is.
Whether one wants to roll around those situations is obviously up to each and every individual, but I know readjusting to that is not ideal for some, but I'm just saying it'll be for those who are willing to take that shot and that chance. I do believe it'll be very beneficial for you. And then Stephen M, it's okay, Nick. I understand it's not your fault. Yeah, dude. I know you guys are probably some of the most understanding types, which is great, and I love and appreciate that y'all get that, which is awesome. All I'm trying to do is say, you know what? Why? Let's work around it. For me, I do believe that there is a solution for almost every problem. So why not at least try to work around it? At least give it a shot. So, anyways, the dudes aren't here, so you know what? We're just gonna make good on the showing, and I'm perfectly fine with that. So, Jed, you saw
Yep.
last night with Culture Casino.
Yep. I did. Me and him, like when we were talking about like on a Thursday, me and him since it started in the movie, the first words that came out of both of our mouths at almost the same time is like, "We hope this movie is good." And I was like, "I know, bro. I know." He goes, "Yeah." So we sat there, and me and him were nervous that I would say first 10 minutes to a half hour, because I think that's the roughest patch of the movie right there. The first, especially if you, like he said last night we said, if you miss that first, was it 3 to 5 minutes, Nick? Is it somewhere around there? That sets up the rest of the movie right there. And if you miss that, you're not gonna know what's going on in some of the movie. I did have a problem when they called him a metahuman because he's Kryptonian, but later on in the movie, they actually did fix that and say, I he's Kryptonian, and then he even says, I'm Kryptonian.
I
So
think a lot of people honestly just mess. I think a lot of people looked into that too much, and the reason why I
yeah,
say that is because I think when he was saying metahuman, he was just being broad. Because
yeah,
think about it, not every powered being is a metahuman.
yeah,
Some
and
are
I
alien, some are
yeah.
Kryptonian. He was just using a broad term.
Yeah.
That's what he was using. I think a lot of people kind of looked at that the wrong way. I mean, we've all done that at some point
Oh
with
yeah, we
something,
have.
and I feel like he was just speaking broadly, and it was obviously clear that it was just he was Kryptonian, obviously as he should be, but it was just dead man. What's up, the dead man? The first half hour I was like, see, I think I'm gonna be in the minority of it, but I had no problem with the first half hour of the movie. I don't. I actually really enjoyed it, and for me, it really recontextualized a lot of the stuff that was in the trailers.
Hmm.
And for me, I liked how this movie just put us right into it. I mean,
Oh
put it
yeah.
this way: Superman the movie, or Superman Returns, Superman 2, Man of Murder, whichever movie you want to have, take your pick. Good, bad, not relevant in the conversation. My side of this conversation is all those movies had a way of buttering you up. Whether it's good for bad, we all have our opinions. We all know mine, so I'm not going to get into it. Not relevant. This movie is just like, bitch, we're going in dry. We're going
Hmm.
in really dry. And Steven, to answer your question, we will let you know when there are spoilers because I'm not going to ruin it. Okay,
Yeah. That's the
I'm going to
reason why I
be
was careful in
very
what I said.
mindful of what I'm saying right now to accommodate for those who are here because not everyone gets to see or do everything right away. That's not lost on me. I keep gentlemen like you in mind to keep me in check with that stuff. So it doesn't go lost. It doesn't go unnoticed, my friend. So I had no problem with that half, and that's why I'm not saying what happened. But once again, it recontextualizes what happens in the trailers. I feel like the thing that worked against it in retrospect is honestly probably some of the marketing. The marketing I feel like is a bit misleading from the movie because the movie is so much better than what's reflected in the previews. I'm not going to say why, but I'm just saying that it's definitely far better than that. There's a few issues I had. Um, and I don't blame you. I don't blame you for being on the fence. That's the thing. I don't blame everyone for wanting to be skeptical. Everyone should be skeptical. They should still be skeptical. Even if you hear what I say and what I love about it, you should still be skeptical. I don't treat my opinions as the gospel. I don't treat it like that. What's up, Bill S. Preston, Mr. Bill and Ted? Lots of things are taken out of context of the marketing. The flawed movie, but I enjoy it. You know what? Respectable take. And yeah, and there once again, the marketing definitely. And now here's where it's weird because as much as I thought the marketing was not great, clearly an audience is responding to it. Since I saw it both time, one was a packed crowd today, 2 p.m. in the afternoon on Dolby. It's like a half crowd, half filled. So, and normies really enjoyed it both screenings. Really enjoyed it both screenings. So I was actually quite surprised at that. Now Tuesday night when I was out with the Amazon Prime crowd, we're calling it the Amazon crowd.
Yeah.
It was a mixture of normies and comic fans. And I talked to a lot of guys who are really big in the material and they really enjoyed it. And we talked about some things that we wish could have been done better. We did. We had discussions,
Yeah.
but we also were really going on about what we loved about it as well. So there was a lot of great banter going on that Tuesday night screening. People were hanging out outside of that theater room, that auditorium room for half hour, 40 minutes. Well, after that, it was wild, like to see the engagement that was going on. And I knew people who were more normies, who I knew, like I can tell you their names, who really enjoyed it. So I feel like comic fans are going to be 50-50. And I think normie crowds are going to be probably like 70-30, 80-20. That's my estimate where I think they're going to line up for how they feel about this movie. Now, for all I know, maybe comic audiences might be more engaged and maybe normies might not be. I'm just judging from what I saw my two screenings. However, my two screenings are in one town, in one county, in one state of a country filled with 50 states. So treat my state and my town as that. Just because what happens on my screen doesn't automatically, because I think there's a lot of people when they say these things, they say it, and I don't know if they say it to mean it or if it's just the perspective that people get out of it. That what happens at, let's just say, New York City magically translates everywhere else. It never has, and it never will. Now, sometimes you'll have things where they do. You will. Obviously, the Marvels is a great example of that. That was a good, accurate reflection of dead screenings everywhere. But all I'm trying to get at here is that's not always an absolute case. So, and obviously Snow Brown is a good case. There's no doubt about it, Snow Brown. That's not even up for debate with Snow Brown. That's for sure. The Dead Man Did Watch, My Adventure with Superman. Are you talking about that newest one with the race swaps? I did not watch that. I thought the animation style did not look to my liking, so I purposefully avoided that. But I do love the original Max Fleischer cartoon and the 90s animated series, and I got a lot of 90s animated series, and I know I know some people, let's just say on the Snyder side, were really bugged by that. Hey, what do you think Clobby thought of the movie? I think he would have thought it was okay. And now that I've seen it twice, I could see things he would like, and I could see some things he would pick apart at, and rightfully so.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the stuff he liked, he would have really loved.
Yeah.
We got two dudes in the back, and we're going to let those dudes slip on in here. One of them who's got to pay up. Hi, Fenrir.
Hey, man. Sorry I'm late. I just got out of a 9-hour shift, and I still got work in the morning, so I really can't stay for long. I'm just here to make my presence known and that I'm not backing down. You'll get your money about Tuesday, I think.
Okay.
I'm just so goddamn busy that I can barely.
How you doing?
Tired as all hell. I would honestly prefer someone to break into my house and beat me to death.
I don't want you to be beaten to death.
No, you don't.
Because I still got to go to work tomorrow.
You will, so do I. And yet here I am.
Yeah.
So I got to wake up at 5 a.m. for work, and I start work at 7 a.m. So, hey, you got this, man. You're in shape. You're in decent shape. I've seen you before. You're in decent shape. You'll be fine.
Yeah, I guess so.
You got this.
Yeah.
Come on, don't let the skinny, linky man be the guy who shows up the ripped, shredded guy. Do not make that be a thing. That should be the other way around. You should be showing me up. I'm twice your age, dude.
Okay, I'm not getting beaten.
There you go.
I'm
He's
not
like,
gonna get beaten.
oh, he just put that in perspective. I can't let a man twice my age show me up. And good. That's what I.
No. But yeah, you had a good point on one thing. My Adventure with Superman sucked balls. It was super gay, like mariachi dancing on Liberace's head gay. I mean, god damn it. Actually, I think that's an insult to homosexuals because that was just, it was boring. It was just
Well,
horrible, boring, and stupid.
I
I
guess
mean,
some
god
people just happen to
damn
like
it.
it. So one of our buddies does, and when you like something, you like something, and sometimes that's just the way the cookie crumbles. Sometimes, But we got an Ironcaster here as well, and the least I could do is let him in.
Sup, bro?
Well, let me in the back door. How gentlemanly.
Well, hey, that's the only way I let you in here.
Just the way I like it.
Dude, you literally put me between the wall and the sword a couple hours ago when you sent me that link, man. I mean, how am I supposed to answer that? If I can't even end myself, how am I going to answer that? It's the only logical option.
I sent him some dumb stuff in DMs, but that is a conversation we could have in private. There, Fenrir. I think we got a little bit of a movie to talk.
It's like Schrödinger's cat, but without the cat, which makes it even impossible.
Your voice is a little low.
Oh, am I?
It's a little low. It doesn't
Is that
sound
any better?
bad. Oh, dude.
Okay,
I can hear every inch of you. It's good.
I had here, let me make myself bigger. Ooh.
Oh, he's going to embiggen.
Oh.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Right,
This has never happened to me before.
Fenrir, did you catch Superman or not?
That
means no.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. I'll just say we're going into our thoughts. We're going to keep it spoiler free, but I'm just saying probably in like 20 minutes, we're going to get into spoilers. So
I haven't seen it, but I've heard about, I haven't heard a lot of good stuff.
And there's
I'm going to watch it by Monday.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Mm-hmm.
Very
So we're going to let Caster go ahead and give us the go. Sir, give us your thoughts spoiler free.
All right. So I got out of the theater about an hour or two from seeing it, so it's still pretty fresh for me. It's a movie that I feel like is going to be a difficult one for me to put any sort of score on because there's a whole range of things that I both do and don't like with this movie. I guess to start out with some of the easy stuff and, again, staying outside of the realm of spoilers. I think that David Cornsweet he's a fine Superman. Like, I like what they were going for with it for him, but he's not a good Clark Kent. And that is I feel like a problem that was with this movie where they kind of knew he's not going to be a good Clark, so they were sure to downplay that as much as possible because we hardly ever see him running around as goofy, mild-mannered Clark.
I kind of noticed that too, Iron.
anytime we're having those like kind of interpersonal moments, it feels like it's clearly like through the lens of Superman. That's what this all is. And that I feel like is a problem because the character of that's the fundamental thing with the character is that at the end of the day he's not Superman, he's Clark. Clark is Clark, and the ultimate thing is he goes out to be Superman when he has to do good.
Mm-hmm. For me, Clark Kent is Superman, not the other way around. Clark Kent is the disguise. He's Kal-El.
Don't you mean Superman is a disguise?
Superman, he's actually Superman. Clark Kent's the disguise. No, I don't. I actually meant it that way. John Byrne, when he wrote this comic in the 80s, he wanted to be Superman as Clark Kent instead of Clark Kent being Superman. That was a John Byrne thing. That was actually, that was a very prominent John Byrne thing. Now, I didn't personally see the Clark Kent issue that you had, but how I feel about that right now, honestly, doesn't matter. I want you to continue with your thoughts.
Well, that is in part because there's hardly any time where he's Clark. And it's basically just when he's at the Daily Planet. That's kind of like one of the only times where he's Clark. Everything else, he's going around as Superman. That said, there is a lot I did like. I did enjoy, seeing the Fortress of Solitude. Seeing Lex being Lex. There's a lot of elements in there that were there to enjoy. A lot of the comic book stuff. Guy Gardner was fun, although I feel like he could have been just a little bit more of a dick, even though he's literally like beating people with a giant middle finger. Like that is such a Guy Gardner move.
Oh, it's as Guy. Remember, careful to spoilers, but that some might consider that a spoiler. But it was a very Guy Gardner move that I wish Jon Stewart was there, just to be like, really, Guy, you had to do that. John is a lot more professional, militarized. Jon Stewart, that would have been a perfect like. You really, Guy, middle fingers. I could see Jon Stewart doing that, and that would have been funny for Jon Stewart to call him out like that on it. But carry on.
And then there's a couple of other issues in there, like Crypto. I mean, look, comics. Like I'm still gonna have the nitpick of Crypto wasn't the right breed of dog.
Fair.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
Fair.
And really, the one thing that stands out to me most, the first thing I said after when the credits were rolling was, "There's too many guys that cry."
See, that's the stuff I had to push back on because of the context of those scenes.
Yep.
Okay, so,
but go on.
I would say the middle one is the one well, the middle and last one I feel like are the two that I most kind of object to, like. Because I'm trying to think of the way to go about this. One of the heroes, has a couple tears, and I'm kind of okay with it given the immediate circumstances of what just happened preceding that. Given in the moment, in the circumstances he's in, I'm totally okay with it in that instance because it felt like it was the natural thing. Like, yeah, this made sense. Like, there was a bit of a bond here with this guy, even though it was kind of like a tangential, like, oh yeah, I've known you a little bit, but then someone had to be made to suffer for an association. Whereas, how do I put this? I think the one I most object to is our villain at the end. Those tears in the moment, I feel like was a problem for me because he's not someone who should be made crying. Just because when you think of him, it's not it's very much a control and the rage, like all that. Like I would have much preferred to see the angry like freak out, even though he couldn't do anything.
I feel like we saw his angry freak out just minutes before that, which we did.
Yeah, the crying and everything was part of.
That was the aftermath.
He's a manipulator. He was doing all that to manipulate people. That was Lex. This Lex was the most evilest Lex we've seen in forever. He is a manipulator. He's doing.
Let's let Caster finish his thoughts.
Okay. And that was sort of the one that was. Since you've already dropped the name, we're talking about Lex Luthor, of course.
Yeah, we gotta be mindful of spoilers.
Okay.
Yeah. Him breaking down at the end, it stood out to me. Like, I feel like I would have, in a way, much preferred a Lex in that moment to have sort of kind of shut down. Just, I've been beaten, and trying to cope and deal with this. That there's a silent seething, an internal struggle going on. After everything has fallen apart and there's no way out.
Go on. I'm just letting you have your moment. You keep going, and
Lex is a character who I never saw. Admittedly, I'm not a huge DC guy. I've read my share of DC books.
Mm-hmm.
I like that they were building up envy for him because comics such as Blackest Night, it feels very appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Lex, I thought was fantastic. I loved him in this, and I love the way they sort of justified it. It's very comic book. It feels right.
It's super comic booky, and I feel like that's not a spoiler because we're not saying how and why. But this movie is very shamelessly comic booky, and I've seen some complaints about some of the out there elements, and I'm just like, no, this could have been even crazier.
Yeah. And well, here's the thing that I'm
Remember, be mindful, Jed. We be mindful because we got people that. So be watchful what you say. I feel like definitely. I know it takes some training, but we got to make sure we keep. We want to keep our audience here until we give them the warning.
I think that this was the first step towards doing some more crazier stuff in the future. If that's okay. I agree with this. This was super comic booky without saying what things were, but I love how things were put into the movie. You know,
it feels like it's a good introduction to the wider DC universe for audiences who might not be as familiar with some of this stuff. Mr. Terrific in the movie is a really good character, that I think general audiences who might not have seen Arrowverse stuff are gonna probably be opening up to and accept as like a lot of people are probably.
Oh no!
Oh, what happened?
Trust me, as someone who's seen the Arrowverse, they don't really need to try much to beat their Mr. Terrific. Just don't make him a pussy.
Well, I'm going to respond to this comment from Jeremiah Hembry, which, how you doing, sir? Says, are you glad they're not going to do the woke Black Superman film that they don't care about, and that's not what they want to go? I always knew it was not going to happen, especially when Zaslav took over.
I mean, come on, it's Ta-Nehisi Coates, bro. It wasn't going to happen.
I know. Well, Tom was my buddy Tom, who's taken a lot of flack lately, which I don't appreciate. He was ahead of the curve saying that movie was not going to happen. And Tom Connors was 100% right on that. And now it's officially official. It just took them a very long time to admit that because you kept saying for a long time, oh, it's happening. Oh, it's going to happen. Eventually it'll come someday. And we finally acknowledge the truth that it's not going to happen. And I'm not surprised. It didn't need to happen. It would have been a dumb idea. I don't need Valzad. I don't need the other version. I don't need that. I need Superman, who is Kal-El. Jed, you said you got to go?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, go ahead and plug your plug.
Just go over the Reverend Wolf channel and Pop Culture Archivist, and this Sunday I'll be on Lorena's show. See you guys. I'll talk to you guys in a bit.
All right, take care, man.
Everybody have an awesome talk about this tonight.
Oh, we will. We will.
Yeah. Okay.
All
Thank you, Nick, for letting me over here as always, brother.
You're welcome.
Iron, Farron. See you guys. Appreciate y'all.
So, Caster, you were saying?
So, I think it's an interesting movie from the perspective of general audiences who aren't necessarily comic fans, because I think there was kind of some bold attempts to like kind of jump into like a year 3 of Superman and just kind of basically roll forward with the presumption that metahumans are just kind of normalized as a verb, as a term.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of, we're starting to see the government's trying to deal with that effect. That we're seeing, sort of Superman and some of the weirder humans, aliens, are kind of accepted as just like being a part of this world. There's a lot of comic book elements that were all just kind of shotgunned out that I would almost be fearful to think that that general audiences might almost be confused by, or like have too much thrown at them.
So Toxic Manflu, who's obviously a big normie, really enjoyed a lot of the comic book elements, and he had no point of reference.
Okay.
And
Then
now, once again, that's one man. No, I did go to 2 screenings of this one today, Friday afternoon at a Dolby screening. Is about half filled. Obviously, 2 p.m. That's make or break. And I saw the Amazon screening on Tuesday night, which was jammed. And I'd say the Tuesday night screening was like half normies, half super comic book / Superman fans. And there was a lot of engagement between both crowds on that Tuesday night screening. A lot of it, and a lot of it in the positive direction. There was a big audience applause when it finished and everything. There was a lot of enthusiasm from both sides of it. It was, and there was very different things that they liked about it. There was very different things that was liked about it. Now, I talked to the comic book side, but I kind of overheard some of the normie stuff on the comic book side. We all had our things that we picked apart and what we didn't like, but we found so much more. A lot of us that we did have a lot to enjoy that and come up ultimately enjoying it. For me, singing in Dolby was a really enhancing experience. I can now see why people talk about seeing movies in Dolby. I absolutely get it now. I mean, yeah, it's definitely not a price I'm willing to pay every time for a movie, but it's one of those pick and choose your battles. You pick the right movie, Dolby is absolutely worth it. Dolby is freaking a rock show, man. I loved it. Like, their fold-out chairs, are even better than the normal fold-out chairs, where they got like a dive, and then the way your chair moves and shakes when intense action scenes happen. And since this movie had a lot of action, my seats were freaking shaking a lot. And I mean a lot.
Since you bring up toxic man flu, I guess that actually is a kind of a good idea to kind of bring to mind. Like, having been presented with that, I can see how that would be enticing to general audiences who might not want to necessarily pick up a comic book, but in a format that is better entertaining to that sort of audience. I could see how all this crazy comic stuff would really build up, because this sort of did the opposite of Marvel, because there were like 10 15 years of build up to slowly drip feed in the comic stuff. Mm-hmm. This wasn't afraid to just kind of throw you into like the deeper end of the pool. And ultimately, I will say ultimately for myself, like, I can see how I think it's going to be pretty accepting to audiences. I mean, they just threw out the hypnotic glasses and
a deep reference. I respect that he did that.
It left me feeling little kind of some warm tinklies over this. And I say this as having been kind of grown up the Marvel fan, like, getting to see a lot of the weirder stuff from DC. I myself did enjoy that. Mm-hmm. I mean, we had like we had that interdimensional entity that was in the background of one of the initial screening photos that looked like the moon blowing up, and in a way they justified it, mm-hmm. Which sort of brings to mind what I think is ultimately going to be the bigger problem this movie has to face. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's been all the contradictory information that's been out there. It's been all the sort of PR like roadblocks and speed bumps along the way that have caused controversy with the film, which, in having seen it in context, it's fine. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Some of that stuff they didn't have to do to rock the boat here, but it's because it's at the end of the day, it's like, it's easy to sell a Superman movie. You just make him Superman. You sell Superman. And he had a great speech in the film to talk about, I'm human. Like, mm-hmm. I set up my shit like, that's Superman. Mm-hmm. There we go.
What's up, Mars Monkey Max? Vince has a great comment here I want to acknowledge. So, considering all of James Gunn's DC projects already released, do you guys see a future in a Gunniverse? I'm gonna say maybe. I'm gonna say maybe on that because as much as I really enjoyed this flick, both viewings, I actually still do have some concerns of this universe, and I'm still very like Creature Commandos was awful. I said it then. I'm gonna say it now. It was a horrendous show.
Absolutely.
There was one episode I sort of liked out of 7, and that was a sort of liked, but it was a horrendous show. It was fucking awful.
It was James Gunn at his finest, and really a precursor of why I do not have many hopes for his future
Well, see,
projects.
this movie is not what that show is, which is good. And obviously, he shows you, yeah, he can do movies that are actually very politically neutral, which I do. I feel like there was a one line in here, which I won't get into it. We'll do save it for spoilers, but there was one line in this movie that had a great political neutrality line. It was a very direct line. This is not something I'm choosing to interpret just to have it confirm my perspective. There is a great direct line. And Cass, I think you know what line I'm alluding to at the near end of the movie, unless you missed it. You know what line I'm referring to?
You'll have to refresh me.
Okay, I'll put it in the private.
Okay.
I'll put it in the private soon, but there was a line and I heard that line. I was like, wow, they actually kept that in the movie. And then I saw it the second time, like, okay, no, I wasn't just hearing things. It was there. So, and here's the thing, Mars, it was the comic Superman. It absolutely was. There's obviously some comic booky stuff I could do without, like the scales and the collar on the suit, but the colors were there, the crazy monsters were there, the superpowers, and the heroes being shamelessly referring to as their name, not trying to make it this serious thing that this needs to be taken seriously by adults. No, it was a very complex. Put it this way, Sean Connery, no, not Sean Connery, Roger Moore as James Bond is known for being like the most out there, silly James Bond of the Bond franchise. Right now, we are in the Roger Moore era of Superman movies. We're in the Roger Moore stage. And I love my Roger Moore movies. Everyone knows, like, when my buddy and I, Bruce, we argued like hell on Moonraker because he was not a fan of Moonraker, where I fought like hell in defense of Moonraker. I love Bruce, but we have a strong disagreement on Moonraker, and I love that movie. And we got Depot 101 with the $1 Rebel rant. Says, gonna have to catch the replay. Got a Mecha D&D tonight. Posted some memes. Hope everyone has a great weekend. And for those who saw Superman, would recommend or not recommend, hail Clobby. I'm going to go on the side of recommend Casser. Yes or no?
Yes, I would say I recommend this movie.
Okay. There's your answer. So we both recommend. Depot, have a great night. And another $1 Rumble rant. Also, remember to hit the like and subscribe buttons and share the stream, he says. Thank you, Depot. Appreciate you, homie. All right. So let's continue on with this show. It seemed really goofy in the trailers. Well, that's the thing. A lot of Superman comics are goofy, especially in the 70s and 80s. They are. They absolutely are. A lot of them.
I guess
so many of them. There's so many. I'm not talking about a statistical anomaly. I'm talking about like there was a lot of crazy outlandish issues. This fits in that wheelhouse perfectly. Could I see why people would mistake it for GOTG because of James Gunn? Yes, but if people didn't see James Gunn in it, they would probably just be like, why is Superman so silly? But not knowing, hey, this is really influenced by a specific timeline.
That was one of the things that did get brought up in some of the credit conversations I had, was talking about whether or not the lack of that James Gunn soundtrack to the film. That was something that was discussed, and on that my stance was, I feel like James Gunn should not have, because that would have been too on the nose for Guardians of the Galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's ultimately a challenge that James Gunn does have to overcome, is that he's not just doing another Guardians of the Galaxy, and that's something I think that audiences might be expecting with the film. And the issue is he's using this movie to ultimately set up an entire universe, and but unfortunately it's not so much a Superman movie, it's a DC movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's a JLI movie with Superman.
It's a Justice Friends movie.
So, okay, really quickly, the Dead Man. Gotta go, Nick. Not because I don't like your stream. But actually, I have to remind. Oh, dude, you don't need to clarify.
Yeah, Nick,
Man,
bringing that
hey,
up.
I'm just glad, you know, you got life, you got responsibilities. You attend to what you need to attend to, man. I thank you for your time. And Joe Dog said he hated it. Okay. So, Joe Dog, appreciate that.
Yeah,
Honesty.
Nick, don't want to kind of bring the curtain down, but I kind of got to go too. I
Okay.
am burned.
Okay, well, go get your rest, Fender. Okay. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Next week, hopefully, I will be here on Saturday.
Starting next week is on Saturday. So if
All
you're
right,
here next Friday and no one's here, I'm just saying we start at 6 p.m. Saturday.
All right, then,
So,
Saturday. Then. All right, stay well, brothers. Ironcasters,
all right,
stay
man.
fresh.
Take
Peace.
it easy. What's
Later,
up,
bro.
Brad Young? Fuck Guardians 3. I'm an animal lover. If there are, I never cared about seeing it. I probably will never see it. I have no desire for that movie. Muhammad said, I'm reading Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, 139. Jack Kirby 4 World Omnibus hardcover is worth it. See, that's what's up. So I was talking briefly with Father Mill. I'm like, I got to get on a hunt for the old school Jimmy Olsen issues. I actually like the character Jimmy Olsen. I'm a Jimmy Olsen fan. So I'm like, and I've read some issues from, I think, volume 2 or 3. I'm like, I gotta start seeing out those volume 1s. I don't even care if they're beat up condition. I just want to have them. And once I got another comic that had a ton of crazy, goofy silliness. And it's not the audience I fault who's not ready for silliness. I fault Warner Brothers because they saw the success of the Dark Knight trilogy and they wanted to apply this one size fits all formula onto all their other characters because it worked well on Batman. And so here's the thing, it does work well on Batman, but just because it works well on Batman doesn't mean you should just translate it to everything else. And because you try to translate it to everything else, you gave off this perception to a whole generation that this is how these characters and movies are, even though they're historically not like that. And we got go ahead, Caster.
Oh, I was gonna ask. So, what do we think about where some of the stuff differs? Because
we'll get into spoilers really shortly.
Really, it's just sort of, I think, a larger sort of meta question of.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
At what point is sticking to?
You cut out. At least on my end, you did. You cut on your guys' end. Well, Cass, you cut out.
That's weird. Am I still sounding weird?
Now I hear you. Now I hear you. You're on. Go on.
Oh, I was asking, at what point, and this is ultimately a larger meta question when it comes to adaptation.
Mm-hmm.
At what point is sticking too close to comic accurate an obstruction? Because there's plenty this movie did that differed from, say, certain characters we're used to, especially one at the very end, who showed up and is acting drastically different in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. That kind of felt more almost like a Rick and Morty character.
We'd have to get into that for spoilers so I can understand who you're referring to. Then I have to think about that. Tina Guzman for $1.99. And she says, wait for it. Wait for it. Well, I don't know what we're waiting for, but I'm going to give us something to wait for.
They say great art is difficult to understand, but easy to enjoy.
Hey, Beavis. It's hard, but it's not like hard.
Yeah.
There. That's what we waited for. It never gets old. I have played that clip in my life over 100,000 times, and I still laugh my ass off at that clip. But okay, you know what? Let's do this. Let's get into the dirty thick of it with spoilers. So, chat, we're gonna do it. We're going all in, and big letters of spoilers.
Guys, Clark Kent is Superman.
Nothing but spoilers in 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we are doing Superman spoilers now. So, Caster, go ahead and shoot off on spoilers.
Okay, so for example, at the very end when Supergirl shows up, how she acts, she's showing up drunk, like she's in very much that party girl thing, which we heard how many months ago was going to be a thing. That
it was awful. Supergirl was awful. I think the lady who's gonna play her, like, she pulls off the look of the suit well, better than I honestly thought she would. I'll give her that. But as far as how she acted, I hated it. Now I thought her dog pouncing on her was funny. I'll admit that. I enjoyed that. But her attitude, that 2 minutes she was there, I hated it. Absolutely hated it. And it reminded me of what's to come in that movie that's supposed to be based from, well, they took out the Woman of Tomorrow name, funny enough. They actually changed the name of that movie. It's no longer called Woman of Tomorrow. I wonder why they took that title out. So well, I was like,
I think that's in part because they want her to be younger. So they probably want to lean into the girl of Supergirl, like to be a young woman, not Hollywood young.
Still, and you know what? And I could see your point. That could be a possibility. Regardless, I absolutely was not a fan of her attitude at all. I hated the snotty drunk bitch thing going for her. I was not a fan of that. I honestly, I really have no desire to see that movie at all. I'm not like, oh man, what am I gonna do? So like, let's just put it this way: if Tom begs me, Nick, can you please say this for Midnight's Edge? Maybe I'll fold, and that's a keyword, maybe. But there's no bone in me that is enthusiastic about that movie. Even if Jason Momoa is in it as Lobo, there's not a part of me that cares about that movie. And I say it as someone who I actually do like Supergirl. I think she's actually a great character. But I don't care about seeing this movie. I have no enthusiasm for it whatsoever. And I love Crypto in this movie, and I still don't care about this movie. So you have Lobo and Crypto, and I still don't care.
Yeah, but what if they announced that what if they announced that instead of Lobo, we were gonna have him coming in to play Supergirl? And it's just like straight up Jason Momoa in a Supergirl outfit for the entire movie.
Super fucking gay.
A Supergirl. Whoa.
Hey. Oh man, yeah. Well, I think it comes out next summer. Actually, next summer. And we're less than a year from it already.
And that is going to be a challenge because the Supergirl we've been presented isn't in any way heroic. So
no.
We're being shown our next film, star, and all we're getting the drunk party girl is supposed to be the next big superhero, the next big character that's going to get all the merchandise and action figures next summer. The Mattel dolls.
Oh God, yeah, like they tried it for Captain Marvel. Vince, I've only saw the trailers, but does everyone poop on soups? No, fuck no. Because he has a really wonderful battle in the third act against the Engineer and Ultraman, and he bides time. It's not that he's just getting his ass kicked. You got to remember, when Lex Luthor has Ultraman face him, Lex Luthor has planned to a T to make sure Ultraman is very formidable. So he actually has challenging opponent. It's not about just dunking on the character. This is we're giving him actual challenges. This has nothing to do with making the character seem lesser. I think a lot of people tend to mistake the two because they're so used to having Superman overpower everyone else, sans Dark Knight Returns, that they just assume that he's going to be dominant most of the time. And whoa! Garfield's Bizarre Adventures for $20. He says, "Hail, Nick Weiser. Last time I was here, you told me to check out Kings of Metal. It was some good stuff. Hell yeah. Manowar songs are on my playlist. Sword of the Highland is also top tier, my man. That is a huge $20. Thank you for that, sir. You know what? I'm gonna give you a little something for that because me and a few buddies a few days ago, we recorded our first video for, well, I guess you could call it my second channel. I mean, you decide on that. And I am really, really looking forward to getting this out to people. I'm currently working on putting the photos in the video per se. But it is a super group of a channel. And one way or another, we will eventually cover Manowar on this channel. It is called Bonded by Metal right here. So go sub to it. First video should be out in a few days. I just kind of dropped the surprise on everyone, even though I've known about this for, like, I don't know, 2 months now. I just was like, oh, hey, boom, channel. Oh, hey, look, logo, who? Look at that banner, that. Oh, yeah, here. These guys are also part too. Boom. Oh, we already got a video recorded. Boom. Gonna be on a few days. Boom. It was hard to not talk about this for a bit now. It really was. But yeah, go sub to it. Keep your eye out. The first video is gonna be called 3 Albums You Hate from Bands You Love.
So, Nick, you're saying you know what it feels like to work for the Rippaverse now.
Yeah. I had to learn how to NDA myself. Yeah, that's a very good point. A Bat Manual engineer, as in oh yes, oh yeah, the engineer's here. There's a lot of great DC lore here. No, Superman has a lot of great battles, and when he's getting kicked down, it's because he's got super formidable shit, and also he's also applying his smarts wisely. He's battle, so he is clearly playing timing in his head when to unleash other elements to help him get the, let's just say, the upper hand per se. And he does it very smartly because a lot of people tend to forget that Superman actually is smart. They just automatically assume that he's not. They just think he's all brawn. And they can't even acknowledge that in the movie. They acknowledge it word for the movie. The whole brains and brawn is, oh, hold on, brains over brawn. Superman has brains too, and they absolutely did have. I see already in the comments, Mars Monkey, that said Megadeth Euthanasia. One of our panelists of the 5 guys does mention that album. There's your hint there. One guy didn't mention Reload, but they mentioned Load. You're just gonna have to keep your eye out for the video. Keep your eye out. It's a doozy. It's an hour and a half long. But it's a great discussion. It's a really. I'm excited for you guys to hear this video. I'm excited because this is where all the metal content is going to be going forward. So yes, that means given time, I'm going to try to get Ripa and Vascon to talk about Norfolk when the EP arrives as well. But anyways, Superman conversation. Back to Max's point to finish up. His power showcased greatly here. He gets a lot of very good, challenging fights. Very good, challenging fights. And when he's down, he's down for a reason. It's not because he's just meant for everyone to crap on, because it's not the case at all. He gets challenged. He actually gets properly challenged.
I really liked, and I should say, I enjoyed the sort of political situation that Superman's put in with this movie, where the very premise of this film that Superman goes around doing good, but there are unintended side effects and consequences of that. that are playing out on the larger political stage. That, he can't just show up and, we see it in the comics where, oh yeah, Superman's going to show up and he's going to grab like the president of Moldavia or, Stockholm, and he's going to go like dang him over crocodiles and say, well, if you don't stop being a bad guy, I'm going to come back and have a stern talking with you.
Yeah, see, for me, like, they acknowledge that there is a political battle going on, but Guy Gardner said word for word, I refuse to get in politics. It's against my oath. But you could see, like, it's not a movie that goes on immigration. It does not. So in case people are wondering, it does not at all. You acknowledge that Superman is an alien, but they're not saying, oh, how dare people come to the country or the planet. They just say, hey, look, I come from an old world. I'm a bit of an outcast, but I love it here. That's where it starts, and that's where it stops. Now, Casta, to refresh your memory, you're like, I forgot about that one line. Sean Gunn shows up at the near end of the movie in a TV cameo as Maxwell Lord, and he said word for word, if there's one thing liberals and conservatives can agree on is that Lex Luthor is a dick. I honestly never thought I would hear something like that in a James Gunn movie ever. I can't believe I actually, let's be more real. I never thought I'd hear that in a 2025 movie, period, no matter who's directing it. No matter who is directing it. And I was like, you know what? I'm glad he put that line in there. I'm really glad, because we need to be able to have those types of things in movies and not have everything be so very focused on endless division.
Well, seeing Maxwell Lord in the film, like, I didn't realize it was Sean Gunn or anything, but it got me excited because it was one of those potential things where I sat up like, wait a minute, this is another potential villain they could use to build off later. And they just drop him in here as just like this little, as just part of the world that we're not going to like linger on to necessarily get you thinking, wait, maybe he's going to show up, that it can be so easy to really blink and you miss a lot of these characters, a lot of the implications, and a lot of the comic book stuff that's put in that can easily be called back to later. And we're not going to necessarily harbor on it to really beat the audience's head over the top to say, like, this is important, pay attention to this.
I like how this movie told a nice, full, complete story that you can just see it as its own thing and not feel obligated to have to see other things. Now, obviously, they were setting up a bunch of nuggets for other things, but it's not something where you feel obligated that you have to watch everything else. It does stand its own 2 feet. It is very accessible, even when it drops you into the thick of things without using lube. And Vince said, aren't there illegal aliens in the monkey? No. What happened was in the other dimension, the pocket dimension, this was a dimension filled with anyone who said or did anything bad that challenged Lex Luthor in any way. It had nothing to do with illegals at all. Whoever came up with that one could have been more dead wrong on that. I'm going to acknowledge this kind of really quick from Garfield, because this is relevant to our new start time for next week. I just read Great War of Separation 2. It's my favorite book, tied with the Horsemen. Love the war scenes with excerpts and Brian Solari's narration. Great stuff. Next Saturday, when we start our new start time for this show, is moving over to Saturday, starting next Saturday at 6 p.m. Central. We're going to have a full-on panel discussion on this comic. Full-on panel, and you'll see some guys who are from that corner who will be guests on the show. Our buddy JT Kirk, he'll be on the show. Ripa Guy will be returning. We'll have another guy as well joining. But we're going to go on a full discussion on that comic next Saturday night to really debut the new Saturday night time at 6 p.m. So Garfield, that's going to be one of the show you're going to want to catch. I reread number 1 this afternoon to get brushed up for number 2 because my issue 2 arrived. Now I just got to read that next. But I read number 1 and absolutely loved it. I can't wait to read issue 2 next. And yeah, and that's where they're at with this movie. That's exactly where it's at. So anyways, we'll continue our conversation on Superman. I really enjoyed David Cornswet as Superman, and I even enjoyed him as Clark. I like from between what we got of him and Lois, him at the Daily Planet, and him with his parents. I loved everything, and I liked his voice distinction from Superman to Clark Kent as well. And I like what he did with the glasses thing, even though it's an obscure reference that I had admittedly forgot about too. I like that he went there. So for me, there was a very direct distinction of Clark and Superman. Maybe you can make an argument that we could use more of it, which I actually would be forced to have more of it. Because here's the thing. As much as I liked what we got of the other heroes, you could have taken out that stuff and it would have not really affected most of the movie. If anything, you could have had more of the stuff of Superman as Clark and his cast at the Daily Planet. I would have preferred more stuff with them because, and I say that as someone who loved Guy Gardner. I loved Hawkgirl. I loved Metamorpho Mr. Terrific. They were all great. Probably Terrific being my favorite overall. But I would prefer to have just focused on the Jimmy Olsens and the Cat Grants and the Perry Whites and John and Martha Kent. I would prefer focusing on them more. I thought they could have taken out the heroes, the other heroes, and focus on those characters because all those actors had something to offer with their characters, which I loved. The actors whose Cat Grant was entertaining. I loved who they had as Jimmy Olsen. I don't know his name yet, but I really enjoyed him as Jimmy Olsen a lot. Really funny, likable guy, very charismatic. Definitely is doing whatever it takes to get the scoop on the job, which I loved as well. Let's just say he's a very ambitious man, which Jimmy Olsen's supposed to be. He is very ambitious. So I really like that. Rachel Brosnahan, I really enjoyed as Lois Lane. She had a moment to be a loving lady, but she also had a moment where her guard also gets the best of her and it kind of backfires on her. And she does get some pushback even from Clark. There's a line where they go on where she's kind of like making fun of him for his taste in music, per se. Mm-hmm. And then she's going, how well, I grew up into punk rock. And he said, well, what you kind of do is not really punk rock. And he is right. He said, me loving the world and loving humanity for what it is, if anything, that's the actual punk rock because it's not cool to be like Clark Kent. And he was right. He is right. He is the most punk rock thing about the movie. He actually really was.
Yeah.
And I can tell that
totally
took
right.
her off guard. That took her off guard. It's just like, fuck. I think he had a point.
Dude, I love that idea. It's just he is who he is, and no one's gonna convince him that he has to change. He's not gonna conform to try to fit into a mold. He's not gonna wear the uniform that people expect him to.
Okay, I'm gonna acknowledge this comment. That's the whole point. The world doesn't take being a good human as a thing. If you think about it, that's kind of like our world in a way. A lot of people get frowned upon just for doing the right thing when no one's looking. And Superman is the punk rock aesthetic of saying, well, I'm going to do this. I don't care if it's in or if it's out. I'm going to be me. He sticks to his guns each and every step of the way. And he's not afraid to dish it back a little bit about it. He's very kind about the way he goes about it. But he does it in the most Superman way. And that's good. I want him to be able to stick to his guns and even challenge those he loves and holds dear the most, saying, no, you may not like this, or you may not think this is the way to go, but this is how I'm going to be. We needed this type of story, and I'm glad we went there with this movie. They could have easily not gone there, but I'm glad they did.
This is a Superman who is going to do good because it is the right thing to do.
He doesn't have a deep reason. He doesn't need to have a deep reason. This doesn't need to be some weird, sophisticated French film art piece of why he needs an essay on why he's going to do good. It's just I want to do good because why the hell not? It's kind of like the reason why I want to eat a slice of pizza. I don't have some deep reason for why I want to eat pizza. It just looks and tastes good, and that's fucking it.
Nick, let's put it simple. This isn't a Superman who's just going to stand by and let people die when he could have done something.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I'm glad you mentioned the parents. So I'm going to get into the parents. Now, appearance wise, they were far from my ideal casting, appearance wise. Now, however, I will give them some slack, and I have to emphasize some. Why? Because the dialogue banter they had was really good.
I
The
love
mom with the
yes.
cleaned up your boots, they're ready to go. And then when his dad sat with him and they were having that heartfelt discussion, I felt that moment in between them. Some people are saying, oh, they wish they had less long. I'm like, no, this movie is trying to be to the point. We already complain about movies being too long, and now we're saying, oh, this movie need to be longer. We got to pick and choose our battles here. No, this moment captured the right amount of time, didn't undermine with humor. It just transitioned on to the next scene, and that was good.
It it hit home in just the right way. I mean,
And they nailed Middle America perfectly. They
yes.
nailed it.
I tell you what,
respectfully, from James Gunn of all people.
Like just when Ma's at the table, she's using the phone in a kind of awkward way. That while the dad's like fixing something, she's talking way louder than she needs to use the phone. Like, I'm like that's my grandpa. I'm looking at like, oh, I feel like I'm right at home here with this family. I tell you what, like when they called Clark because they saw his he made the front page of the newspaper. Like, I remember like my dad would go and post like occasional comments on stuff I've done on YouTube, or I showed him like one of the comic shop streams here, and he's like, quick, put it on the big screen. I want to watch you on YouTube.
It was great. I see. That's the thing. Their dialogue made up for their lack of being like looking like a mom podcast. Their dialogue was really good, and I love how when you went to their home, you felt the vibe shift of the movie too. The tone really shifted. It felt like you were right with them in middle of nowhere America. Like I felt a big shift. Like it was still a positive, outgoing, uplifting, colorful movie, but you could tell it was a very different feeling being in the country versus being in the metropolitan of Metropolis.
You know what element of the farm hit closest to home for me, where it made me feel like it truly was the Midwest?
What?
It was the wood paneling in Clark's room.
Yeah, dude. I once spent a summer out in the country when I think it was 7th grade, 6th grade, one of those years. And I know what it's like when you live in a town where it's absolute silence at night and the small sound from you could be sleeping on the second floor, but you hear the small sound from the basement. It could just be wind hitting the walls, and you hear the wood being impacted by that. Even though there's nothing bad happening, it's just that shows you how quiet the country is at night. It nailed, dude. I felt that right there. A lot of people may not have that same impact, but I absolutely did. As someone who spent a summer in the country, I felt that shit. I was like, okay, that's incredible. I noticed that shit too. I couldn't believe how respectable they were of Ma and Pa Ken and the whole Middle America. It had every reason to go horrifically bad. It really did. And shockingly, of all the things it gets right, it really did get it right. Garfield asked how the film juggled the characters. I disagree on Hawkgirl being the weakest link. I actually thought she was great. Now, here's my problem, though. Here's still my problem with Hawkgirl. But my problem with Hawkgirl is not exclusive to her. It's also translates to Guy Gardner, Metamorpho, and Terrific. As much as I enjoyed all of them, and I truly did, I would have rather have taken them out of the movie completely, respectfully, and just focus more on Perry, Jimmy, Lois, Kat, Ma, and Pa instead. I would have preferred Superman's supporting cast more because I liked what they had to offer even more. And I felt like they were great there to balance out Clark and Superman. I would love more of that, especially I just like what we were getting out of those actors on their own merits as well. I like what we were getting out of this Jimmy Olsen. And for all the complaints I have about the Kent parents, appearance wise, their dialogue and home country feeling made up for it a lot.
It was one of the weak links, and I think you're right there because there's just so much going on. We had those two major conflicts going on that we had to kind of juggle, and you're like, you really want to see Superman show up to save the day, and it's like, well, you kind of like literally like we have the zipper of reality opening up. Like, how's Superman going to stop that? This is more of a Mr. Terrific thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That
I get why they were going for it with the diversion. I get why they were going for that. So I can't say I really like fault that angle because sometimes when people see these movies and there's a, let's just say, world-ending situation, people sometimes ask where are these heroes at? Where is this character at? Why don't they go take care of that? And it's showing you, yeah, Superman can't be everywhere all at once, which is fine. I just wish maybe they could have altered that angle in a way, either to have Superman be in one place for a second, or just toss one of them out completely. Once again, neither of them were done badly. It's just I just like the Superman supporting cast that I would just prefer to have more of them involved. If that means altering the story in the third act to accommodate for his supporting cast over the additional heroes, I would have been so be it. So be it. And once again, I say that as someone who really enjoyed their heroes, but you could have really taken them out of this movie and it would have not had much of impact on the story. You can make it probably a decent argument for the other country in the third act. Maybe there could be a decent argument made for that. But other than that, they were good, but they didn't need to really be in the movie.
it felt like it in a way that plot element felt like it overstayed its welcome.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Too many characters, even if they're good characters, sometimes too many good characters is a problem too. Too many good characters is a problem.
I do fall into the camp that I was kind of a little confused with Hawker. Like, she had a couple of moments I did enjoy, like when they're at like the Justice Friends Hall,
Mm-hmm.
where they're
the Hall of
kind
Justice. Yeah, that was killer to see the Hall of Justice. I lost my shit both times.
Guy Gardner, oh my god, he had some of the best lines in this movie where, the little kids holding up the Superman flag, expecting him to show up, and then Guy Gardner shows up like, "Kid, he Superman sent me, so you got an upgrade."
Mm-hmm.
Or where they're arguing over the name of the group, and Mr. Terrific says like, "I didn't vote for that." It's like, well, you have a terrible name. You didn't get a vote. And
he had the greatest sass ever. Yeah. Nathan Fillion was great. So what's up, Pete Dencat? Long time no see on here. Thanks for dropping. The idea behind punk was to be anti-fashion or anti-trend. It does seem to have been trendy to get on the hate train. That's what I've been saying. So yeah, being kind unconditionally is actually very. Thank you. I don't need to read the rest. We know it. We can read it. We see what it says. The man freaking gets it.
The people who are most anti-conformist always wear the same fucking uniforms.
Yep. You end up sometimes living long enough to see yourself become the thing you were against.
I'm so against the mainstream. I'm gonna go like wear flannel and pretend to be a lumberjack hipster.
Oh, so good. Yeah. I'm trying to think of our things to bite down on. So I didn't like the Supergirl scene. I guess we could talk about the Jor-El scene. Let's talk about that.
Okay, yes,
because
that is.
I thought that was altered technology that just never got fixed, and it seems Superman is convinced that it was the actual footage. I don't like that was done. It felt like to me, James Gunn was saying, what's the one thing that I could change? And it would probably get the most minimal amount of blowback because he has seen at some interviews, I recognize there are things to this character that I have to stick to. And it's like, and I've heard, well, at least he didn't do it to John and Martha Kent, which I agree. I'm glad he was as respectful as he was of them. But to still see it with Jor-El is kind of like, really, dude? Now, on the other hand, I saw that scene and thought, okay, this could always be changed. Unlike, let's just say, the Death and Man of Murder, where unless you did time travel, that shit can't be undone. At least with this technology, and you could always work around it being an alteration, and it could still be, let's just say, undone. This feels like something that's a bit more fixable, unlike the murder in Man of Murder.
I mean, there are a couple of big prominent issues here that kind of have come to mind. First off, there's a lot of just kind of plot convenience, like that is being done for the sake of it. Like, we got to write Mr. Terrific out of this scene, so he's like, "Take my ship and go. I'm gonna stay back here."
I was good
And
with that. I had no issue with that.
like, again, it's one of those things. Like, it feels like it's a little obvious, done for the plot convenience, just to kind of
Yeah.
write this character out of the scene.
Yeah.
But that is the one big point of contention that I think we are going to see the longest. I think is going to be the biggest thing people are going to be walking away from this with, because at the end of the day, they've essentially given Superman Goku's origin story from Dragon Ball. Goku was a warrior.
Is an anime fan. Maybe that's what it was.
When Goku was sort of that invert of when Goku was kind of ultimately got turned into that, the Superman story of like escape. He was shot out in a rocket from his home world, and except he was supposed to have gone to conquer worlds, and it's like, well, now you just did it with Superman.
Yeah, and to me that's probably one of the very few valid criticisms, assuming that that's what it is. I could see that. I would consider that a absolutely valid criticism of the movie. The one thing I do like about it is that it's not something that's irreparable. There are ways around it. You can do it without having to do like a retcon. That is something unlike the Man of Murder situation where that could be fixed. That could be fixed. So to me, it's not as polarizing because I feel like the blowback would have been that much stronger. Not just from a comic book perspective, because it's definitely something that's happening a lot more in comic corners or YouTube corners. But I feel like if you want to get to a normie level, changing John and Martha Kent to act that way would have hit the normie level. That would have been so strong. It would have been more polarizing than anything Rachel Zegler said. And the stuff Rachel Zegler said during the Snow Brown stuff got to mainstream normie discussion. I feel like the Superman, if they were to have done bad things to John and Martha Kent, I feel like it would have hit that level.
The other thing with it that stands out is it in a way it's kind of teetering close to that idea of just doing Superman but evil, which we have seen far too many times now. We've seen so many takes on that idea that we're now taking
a overdone trope now. I agree. I do agree on that. As much as there's stories that I like with it, it's so overdone now. I'm beyond tired of it.
Yeah, it's for me, it's up there with zombie media that I kind of don't ever want to deal with it again.
Yeah, it's fair. No, it's fair. Absolutely fair. So P10 Cat, I want to highlight this compliment, which once again, buddy, happy that you're here. Superman gets an 8.9 from me. I did feel a little unfulfilled. Like it should have been a little longer, but I did think it was awesome. If I was 8, I would let the pictures pretend to fly. Yeah, my children are going gaga about crypto. That's the thing. This movie is going to resonate with normies, and it's going to resonate with kids a lot. I am glad kids and normies are getting excited about Superman. That does give me a lot of hope because I want to live in a world where Superman is more popular than Batman again. I do. I want that world so damn bad. And yeah, we got the plushies. My children going gaga about them. Even though my oldest pointed out that how he's supposed to be a Labrador, which she's right. She pointed that out, but she still liked the plushie. And then she's like, hold on, Dad, look, there's a Squishmallow version of Crypto too. I was like, oh, I guess we gotta get the Squishmallow version of it too. It's this big, giant, like, boosh of Crypto. I was like, okay, kids. This is where my life is at.
I took advantage of Fandango, aka Voodoo, where they had like a sale where it was like if you buy certain Superman titles, you get like $5 off your ticket. So essentially, by paying $2 more, I got a free digital copy of the Donner Cut.
Uh huh.
So I guess I know what I'm watching this weekend.
Yeah, the Donna cut. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Oh man.
it
Um,
doesn't it feel good to see like actual like kind of this comic book superhero related content like with like the pets in mind. Like I went to the movie theater, I saw they had the Superman dog bowl because crypto.
Yes, the Crypto Bowl. Oh yeah, I saw for my second screening. Those were selling more. Those I saw selling better at the second screening I saw of it than the first screening. The Donner cut is people. Yeah, it's true. The second screening, yeah, I saw more of those Crypto Bowls being sold. I saw it, and probably because there's a lot more kids there, even though it was only like half filled screening. The kids and the parents were going for those Crypto Bowls, and it's perfect because you can actually feed your dog with it, so it's got multiple use, and it probably will be the new Grogu. It probably will. I actually have a thing though. This has a potential to stick around a lot longer.
Well, I mean, with that, we do have the advantage of crypto can kind of bounce into the Supergirl film, so kind of going forward, Superman doesn't necessarily have to always have him around.
Uh huh.
And if it would feel natural to let him kind of stick in. And it's not like we have it's not like crypto isn't just like a CGI little, cute monster thing. It's
Uh
a dog.
huh. Uh huh.
And it's so easy to put. I think a dog is a better way to go because it's like everyone loves dogs. They are man's best friend for a reason.
Okay, we got Brad Young here coming in hot, and he's got $10 direct donation.
It's like winning. I don't know, man. I was banging 7-gram rocks and finishing them because that's how I roll. I have one speed, I have one gear. Go.
Brad Young for a $10 direct donation. Says, have a six-pack on me or whatever you need it for. Wish I could catch more of these. Dan Borg. Have a good one all and chat lunatics. Hey, thanks for being here, Brad. Thanks for the 10, buddy. Dude, I just like when you're here, no matter what. That's all that matters to me. Hopefully, the new Saturday time will be a benefit. If not, I do apologize in advance. But that's what the replays will be there for, man. All right. I'm just glad you're here, and I thank you for being here. Good, sir. So,
Folks out there, just to put it out there for you guys, even though he doesn't want to see it, if you guys pay him to, and you guys pay for his ticket, Nick may be legally obligated to go watch Supergirl.
oh God, no, no!
It's the new Rebel Moon.
Oh, all right, Garfield, take care, man.
I mean,
next Saturday, dude. Next Saturday, it's gonna be huge.
Not that I'm trying to like spike that ball or anything.
Oh, dude, no. Oh, it went through, Brad. Your donation absolutely went through. It absolutely did. I'm trying to think now. Getting back into Superman now. I did like how this movie recontextualized a lot of how misleading the trailers were because the marketing definitely was far from the most ideal marketing. And I would like to understand what was the motivation behind the marketing decisions. Especially with Superman in the position. I know a lot of people are like, he just seems so defeated. Right off the bat, it really recontextualizes the why there. And for me, it's like, okay, that makes sense. Been in battle with Superman for 3 years, lost his first fight, and we're not going through the origin story. We're just going right into the thick of it. Okay, I'm good with that. That makes a lot of sense. But when you catch those things out of context, yeah, for a lot of people, especially Superman fans or Zack Snyder fans or just DC fans in general, a lot of them saw it as completely something else. And I can somewhat see why they at least thought the way that they did.
Yeah, and ultimately this movie needs to be able to stand on its own. And I think, unfortunately, there's so many camps that are trying to pull it in so many directions that it was ultimately all of these campaigns, all these efforts, were starting to tear at the movie, and it's has the potential to have caused more damage. But I mean, just with the amount of kids I saw in the theaters with this movie, the
Did
amount
they
of
seem to
hype
like it?
yes, they seem to adore it. I outside of my movie theater in the lobby when I was like going up to get my tickets, they had the big old like wall scrolls like lined up like so you like, go get your selfies in. Like there was like about a dozen people that had stopped and asked me like, well, could you take our picture for us? And it was like they all were hunching because like they were just so hyped for Superman. I think they did it right.
Mhm.
We have, we're gonna have all our nitpicks. We have all our complaints.
Oh yeah, rightfully
I think
so.
the general audiences are going to absolutely adore this film. It's got. I was I was cautious about James Gunn. I thought he wouldn't be the right pick for it. I didn't think it would be a good pick with him and his style of comedy, but he threaded the needle in some ways that have made me sit back and kind of rethink that. And I'm not I'm not I'm not above admitting that when I'm wrong or saying maybe I was.
Yeah, he did modify his style of humor. Once again, it doesn't mean that every joke landed because certainly they didn't. But there are ones that for me that did. And I don't know if you caught it. And I got really remember. Tom, you're still in the chat. But there's one part where Clark said golly. And when I heard him say golly, I'm like, that is the greatest leave it to beaver type of shit ever. And that really summed up how old fashioned and good natured Superman is when he has to say the word golly. That is like 1960s type of stuff. We're talking way over half a century ago. And once again, between that, a respectful depiction of middle America and embracing old fashioned respectfulness and values with James Gunn of all people, honestly, this had every right reason to be an absolute train wreck. And he, in my opinion, mostly succeeds with this movie. He mostly succeeds. And I am really happy that with both showings, I was very pleased with this movie. I'm once again still kind of weird now that I look back in retrospect with the trailers and how the trailers are not an accurate depiction and reflection of the movie. I like that it was a breakneck pace movie. Could there have been stuff trimmed down? Probably was. I wasn't looking for that. I was going for the roller coaster ride. When we were debating on TNT last night about the monkeys, and I was like, nah, dude, the monkeys are great. Someone brought, oh, they should just use AI. I'm like, no, fuck that shit. You know why? You're bringing this shit back to reality when you're doing that. Having the monkeys was perfect because that's as crazy comic booky as it got. I'm like, if I had it my way, I would have gone even crazier. I would have done fucking hippos. I would have had been all bunch of hippos doing it. So if you let me run the ship, I'm gonna go even crazier. You think James Gunn's crazy? I'll go even crazier. Do not put me to the challenge on it. I will take that personally, and I'll make this movie crazier while still being respectful to Superman.
Oh God, the monkeys were such a great thing to throw in because it's like
So good,
how
so
many
good.
how many shit fights do you look at on Twitter and think who's the monkey typing this up on the other end of the phone? You know.
Uh-huh.
Plus, there's always also there's that old adage about you put a thousand monkeys with 1,000 typewriters room together, and eventually they will produce Shakespeare, or in this case, they will shitpost enough.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. So it'd be fair to say this film is a live action. Yes, I see a lot of comic book fans, or even casual fans, like normie fans, but who are at least moderately versed in Superman. Comic fans see it as a Silver Age version. A lot of people who I know are very moderately, if not very well versed in Superman, call it the Silver Age Superman movie. Whereas more casual fans, once again, whose point of references are like the cartoons and movies, they see it as the 90s animated series, like a Saturday morning cartoon episode that's 2 hours. I had no problem with Saturday morning cartoon for 2 hours. For me, that was one of its greatest strengths. You can have your weird, extend your pinky out, drinking like you're some weird wine drink. I know I have wine drinkers in chat. I'm not trying to disrespect you guys. I'm just trying to look at it from the angle of I don't need this to be a sophisticated movie. I want it to be a fun, crazy, shameless Superman movie. And this movie is very shameless at what it does. How many movies do they make jabs at suits or at names? This movie is like, we're going to call each other Superman. I'm going to call you Mr. Terrific by name. I love that. And I want to bring up Hawk Girl as well. When she picked up that one guy, I can't remember his name, but he was one of the, let's just say one of the bad political leaders. And it's like, oh, you're not going to kill me because, well, that's not, you're like Superman. She's like, yeah, I wouldn't think too hard on that one. And she lets you know, yeah, Superman has his code. I got my code. And I thought she was great with the mace too.
Mm-hmm.
And she definitely had some issues when it came to facing the kaiju monster. So no, she was far from a Mary Sue. She had her issues, and she definitely needed Guy Gardner and Terrific and Superman there because it was not gonna go all for her, even with her badass mace.
Yeah. Well, actually, so speaking of the suits, I feel like there's one thing we need to talk about, especially with it, is the S.
The Kingdom Come S.
Yes. How do you feel about it as being this Superman's S?
It's far, put this way, it's not my ideal S. I like it for what it is, and I can let it go in this movie, even if it's not my ideal S, because I enjoyed the movie. I'm still more like the George Perez S or Jose Luis Garcia Lopez or Christopher Reeve. I can get behind the Dean Cain S too. Or if you want to make a newer reference, maybe Dan Jurgens or Pat Gleason, those type of guys, I could get with those S's. This one, I don't hate it. I don't even dislike it. I thought it worked fine for Kingdom Come, and I get they want to acknowledge Kingdom Come as an essential Superman story, a pivotal DC storyline, even more so. I get why they did it. I'll accept it for what it is, and hopefully in a sequel they get rid of the damn collar. I could forgive that S so much more if they get rid of that stupid collar and the scales on the suit. Yes. I did like that it was bright though, and I like the yellow S on the back, so I did like that. I like that he had his curl. I like that he once again adjusted his voice. I like that they went for the deep cut with the glasses. Once again, things they didn't have to do, but they did anyway. So there's a lot of good in this movie. There's a lot of great even in this movie. There's obviously once again just hindered by most. Now, have I heard some people say it's a mess? I couldn't reject that comment anymore. Brad Young said, "Do you miss my donation?" Oh, we acknowledged it. What do you think, Cass? Like 5-7 minutes ago, we acknowledged it.
Oh yeah,
I played a clip for it and everything. It was, I think it was the Charlie Sheen clip. So go back 5 to 7 minutes. We acknowledged it. Oh, Brad, it was there. I chat. If I'm having a Mandela effect and I didn't acknowledge it, please correct me because I swear, me and Cass swear I acknowledged Brad Young's direct donation.
Because I use it as an opportunity to say you were going to watch Supergirl. No, but right. So the one thing, just to stay on the suit for 1 second.
Yeah.
The costumes here, just to pull up a photo, they've transferred to toys really well.
I bought the Mr. Terrific figure, by the way.
Oh, did you?
I know that's a contradictory statement considering I said, like, as much as I liked him, he didn't be the movie, but his figure is just so cool.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm like, I have to own this. And so it came with T-spheres in his hands.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, because I'm looking at them like, I love them. I really like the way the costumes look, even on the toys.
Yeah, I like the Hawk Girl figure. I like that she's got the mace. I do dig that. And I like to, with this universe, we actually have a possibility we can live in a world where we can have a Superman movie, whether it's Metallo or Mongol or Mr. Mixius Pitalik or Manchester Black or Parasite We have all these great villains, and now we have a world where, sure, it's not a guarantee that all those villains are going to show up, but we can at least entertain a possibility where at least one or two of those villains appearing in a potential sequel is at least a possibility.
You know, since you mentioned his name, I think I'd be most excited to see Mongol in a movie because we've seen Zod how many times now? We've
Yeah,
seen,
I'm down
I
for
mean,
that
Lex
change.
Luthor's as obviously here so much. It's a chance to get another one of those other classic villains and bring him in. I actually, if anything, I think James Gunn would be more likely to use Robot Superman or Cyborg Superman.
Cyborg Superman. I feel like Cyborg Superman would be a good third movie character. I want like a Brainiac. Man, that's just my opinion. Brainiac, Mongol. Now, Mongol I'd be good for a second movie. I think Mongol would be a very strong second movie villain. You can take that to other places too. That was one of my other nitpicks of the movie. Now, I will say it was better handled in this than in Man of Murder. But I'm at the point where let's just say I'm at the final straw with it, even though it was better handled. The collateral damage. Was there a good peace of mind knowing that there was a successful evacuation of the city? Yes. However, we're at the point where it is, and I get you want to have stakes, you want to make it on the edge of suspense, but I truly do believe, even with Superman, there are other ways that this can happen.
You know, how convenient was that? Like that stretch of highway, it was like everyone else got away except one car. The one car that Superman is saving.
It was a great moment though to see that though. It was freaking awesome. Like it was a little convenient, yeah. But was it great to see him get under there and get that building? Hell yeah, it was. He had so many heroic moments that seem to have been glossed over. Nah, dude, Vince, they gotta absolutely add Mr. Mixius, but they need to add him. If they don't, I'll be fine. But they need that character. They need that character. So I'm like, bro, they gotta just do it. I want us to be as wild and ambitious with these Superman movies, and I don't want to be in a place where we can't imagine these things. And right now, I actually like that we're in a possibility where it's a possibility.
And that is the big advantage with DC. Marvel was always trying to be the world outside your front door, the world you live in. But DC has the advantage of being able to be goofier with it, where yeah, we're gonna suddenly turn Detroit into like a technical like star beacon of the country where Cyborg hangs out. Where why yes, of course, it's just common knowledge, and it's not treated as unpeculiar that like aliens exist. That we could have that literally the giant like floating ball of like interdimensional monster. Yeah, Superman's just sit back and let the others take care of that because he's got other stuff going on. That and it all happens so often that it's not a big deal in a way.
Yeah. What's up, Toback? I see you on the Rumble side. How you doing, dude? Thank you for dropping in, sir. Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to think of other things we can talk about with this movie. The angle with that Eve chick, I thought, oh, it's just gonna be a ditz. And it actually ended up being a really smart thing at the end, which I will give credit for because I did not think that was going to have any payoff at all. I didn't know it was meant to be a payoff. I just thought it was just a ditz. That's all it was. It turns out there was a lot more meat to the bone with that, with what was going on there. It had every right to take it out, what I thought, assumingly, but then at the end, like, oh, this did need to be there. This did.
It was funny because I'm watching Lex Luthor during this, and the whole time I'm picturing him as Jeff Bezos. To the point of like he's got the blonde ditzy girl with at his side who's just kind of basking in it all. That feels like, it was almost spot on. Like, and by the way, did you notice the TV host was like kind of Tucker Carlson?
I didn't get any Tucker Carlson vibe out of it. I did not, and I've seen a decent amount of his stuff. I'll put it that way. I didn't get that at all. I mean, I'm sure if you think about the hair being there, but to me, that's not really enough. I had to also consider the positions, but maybe that's just a me thing. I felt like the movie was genuinely as politically neutral as it got. I feel like anything people got out of it, I feel like was some insane mental gymnastics. But obviously, that's just my take on it.
Not that I'm not necessarily saying that they were trying to do like some direct thing there, but it felt like maybe they might have kind of taken a slight bit of inspiration from him and the way and his mannerisms. Like it was just something about him. I'm in the theater watching. I'm like, he kind of reminds me of Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, I see. I didn't get that. Like, I can at least see why someone would make like a connection with Alex Jones compared to JJJ and Spider-Man No Way Home because there was a very similar boot setup. I can at least see why someone thought that. Whereas this one, I didn't get that vibe at all. Now, maybe have they had gone, let's just assume we live in an alternate universe. If they went into actually going in about full on immigration, anti-immigration, whatever you want to swing about that, maybe that would cross my mind. Like, oh, hey, if this dot was there, what's with that dot there? But we had nothing of the sort in that movie. And then we had that line, ironically uttered by Sean Gunn of all people. For me, there was never anything there. And it makes me wonder I feel like James Gunn, the guy he was, let's just say in 2017, 18 versus who he is now in 2025. I do feel like he has, I don't want to say, I'm not going to make claims about him that I can't back because I don't do that. But do I believe he has changed who he is a little bit? I think he has actually. I'm not saying that he's no longer this full-on crazy far leftist guy. I feel like from what I've gathered of how he is actually, by actually listening to him in interviews, not just what the articles are saying, because I've seen there's been a lot of misleading pieces about him, but what he's actually saying in his own words versus also who he works with. I do believe his perspective, either he's a lot more quiet about things, or maybe he's more in the center of left, maybe. And the reason why I say these things is because he didn't go out of his way once to make this campaign about politics at all. He's not done it on Twix the way he used to. And he used to pretty badly way back when. I remember it very well. Oh, I remember it. But I wonder, it's also him having to work with guys like Chris Pratt, Zachary Levi, Kurt Russell, Sylvester Stallone. You're talking about 4 guys who he has worked with. Well, one of them he hasn't, but I'll get into that one guy. 3 guys he has directly worked with, and 2 out of 3 of them repeatedly, might I add, that couldn't be any more like him. I don't know if those were personal conversations where he had, where like, hey, you should probably focus on making the best movie. You got some talent. Don't waste your time doing this. This is not worth it. Once again, this is just all hypothetical, theoretical possibilities, because I feel like James Gunn of 2018 could have not made this movie at all. I really don't see it. But James Gunn 2025 is definitely a lot more of a possibility. And why I also come to this conclusion is because a lot of people are trying to get him to go after Zachary Levi when he outed himself. And he said, and I can't remember the exact words, but it was along these lines, so I'm going to be paraphrasing here. It was something I can't go after everyone who doesn't agree with me politically. Otherwise, there's something about I would have no jobs or there'd be no one to work with if I went for every little thing. Once again, I'm paraphrasing. There's probably a big difference in words, but the message did still ring the same point home. And that was probably the first time I started paying attention more to what he said again. Because I did not expect that response from him of all people. And there were celebrities who were gunning for Zachary Levi at the time. And he wasn't one of them. He wasn't one of them. And he could have. He absolutely could have. It's not like he's not in a position of power. He absolutely is. And that could be two. That could be two.
Yeah, I think so.
And you also got to remember too, he's highlighted how he is very good friends with Chris Pratt. And Chris Pratt is obviously very, very different from him. Maybe he's gained perspective of having friendships with people who are not like him. I mean, Kurt Russell and John Carpenter are open about how they are very different from each other politically, but yet they love working together on movies. It doesn't mean that John Carpenter once in a while doesn't say something stupid, but all I'm trying to get is I feel like, once again, he's definitely more open to people who are not like, even a few days ago, when you actually watch on an interview at the red carpet, even though Sean Gunn did say something stupid, but James himself said, I got no room to judge MAGA or anyone else. I believe kindness is a thing that anyone can relate to.
Well, I think the other thing is the fact is, quite simply, is that it is his, just given his job position, he has to be above a lot more of that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
James Gunn can't play the same sorts of games.
That
and
he
perhaps
used to in 2017 and 18.
And perhaps having gone through all the stuff he has, there has been some growing up that's come out of it for him. So I'm kind of choosing to read into things and think maybe he's just trying to, at the very least, he is trying to play it politically neutral.
Yeah, it doesn't mean his positions have changed, but it's clear maybe he realizes there's a wider audience of people who are into movies and shows and games than maybe he initially realized. And I once again, I can't prove it. I do believe it definitely has something to do. And maybe Stephen M might be right here. There could be something with David Zaslav playing into that too. It could even be A, B, C, D, and E. It could be what it's like working with a Sylvester Stallone, a Kurt Russell, a Chris Pratt. It could be also being in defense of Zachary Levi. It could also be David Zaslav too. It could be in all of the above. It could.
What if
it
was literally like one of the stipulations of him getting the job is that he had to kind of rein this in. He had to avoid saying a lot of controversial things on social media in terms of politics.
See, that would take a lot. I mean, it's possible. I mean, obviously, you and I have nothing to base that off of, but it's definitely not out of the realm of possibility. And I know Hollywood really seems to have it out for David Zaslav. They really seem to have it out for him. So it's possible. I mean, regardless of which way you want to swing it, A, B, C, D, E, F, or G, or the potential H out there, it's clear that he has definitely has experienced a lot in the last 7-8 years. Mm-hmm. And it's clear that it has changed him in some way. How much? It's hard to really gauge because all we can do is speculate. So me and Caster have been doing that for the last 15 minutes. But I feel like it definitely shows. And I really do mean it when I say I feel like him of 2025 versus him of 2017-18 would have not been able to make this movie.
Right.
So, anyways, with that said, hi, Davina Duckworth. Hello, awesome one. I hate being that guy, but guys, this is gonna be the part where we do call it a night for the show. So please, Davina, please, awesome one, especially awesome one. Long time no see. Welcome back, dude. I wondered what happened to you. I was like, where did awesome one go? Maybe went to find other shows. It's like, next show got boring or some shit. So Please, guys, do catch the replay of this or just listen as you sleep. Starting next Saturday, our new start time is Saturday night, 6 p.m. Central. Awesome one. I remember there's a lot of people around here that I remember. I remember Darius Munchausen. I remember Awesome One. I remember Warachi. I remember Brian Yoder. There's a lot of names around this corner that I have not seen well that I could say I remember that. I remember Philbo Baggins. I remember a lot of names. I'm good at remembering a lot of names. So yes, you were amongst the many other names that I remember. Gen X guy. I remember Gen X guy as well. I can mention a lot of names. And I was kind of just there's another guy, Neon Knight. He's another one I used to see around a lot. So, and sometimes people, their interests change. Sometimes their life takes a turn, or sometimes they just move on from YouTube. So, seriously though, next Saturday, 6 p.m., new start time. It's going to be great. It's going to be huge. And, yes, we will absolutely raid Stone Loki on the way out.
Yeah. Frankly, I need another night or so. I need at least one night out of the weekend where I can get out of the house, because otherwise I'm here on Friday nights. I'm here on Saturday nights. I am here on Sunday nights, kind of getting ready for the week. I got family that want me to come hang out. I got family and friends who do want me to come out, and I've been so tied with all my friends and family here on the internet in this YouTube land that it has led to me kind of starting to ignore some the people that are close to me outside of this little box that I'm in. So that said, if you do want to see some more of me, come over on Monday night for the Mech Pit Chat, where we talk about big robots and some other fun pop culture stuff. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about Superman. Maybe we'll talk about a little bit more of this Kamen Rider stuff, or who knows what else going on in the big world of big robots.
All right.
Maybe I'll drop another $150 on Warhammer by then, and then Jesse can come by and call me a nerd and a bloody vampire for it.
I love it. Casser, it's been good to have you here. Thank you for your time here. Deeple, thank you for your $2 Rumble Rants. Brad Young for your direct donation. Garfield's Bizarre Adventures and Tina Guzman for their super chats. You all know how I treat a guy very well on here, and it's kind of insane, and I'm not deserving of it. Once again, Bonded by Blood link. Check it out. Next, I did do a Superman review, spoiler-free. Go check that out. Oh, Red Shirt was here. Didn't catch him. Sorry, I missed you, buddy. Be seeing you. Check out my Superman review. I did do that a few days ago. Next week, next Saturday, we'll be here at the new start time. Toxic Tuesday, we'll be talking Charles Bronson's 10 to midnight. So keep your eyes and ears open for that. So a lot is coming on the way. And Bonded by Metal, guys, we're already going to get to work on our second video soon as well. So a lot is coming up. And it's all coming up Millhouse. So once again, guys, as the show sets up, I redirect it to, you can go hang out with my friend Stone Loki. You'll probably see Ironcaster 2. I got to go knock out. So this is going to be, it's going to be the end of the show. So once again, thanks for supporting the show. Goodbye. Good fight. And most importantly, good night. Thank you.
I smell horse shit. It's horrible, but I can smell it.